Hey Mustangs, it's Adrian,
This is Nate.
and welcome back to Mustang Report.
Yeah.
We got some sad news though. It's about Nick.
I'm dying. No. This is my last Mustang report. I'm leaving forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And ever. Never.
And I have to take over now.
I'm passing you the torch, Adrian.
Well, one more time. You want to start it off?
Yeah. Now on to Gina with the weather.
What's good, you Mustangs? Guess what? You're on your own during this break because I don't care enough to do next week's weather. But you know what we care about? Christmas. Now, I'll be decent enough to tell you that. So on Christmas Eve, it'll be partly cloudy with a high 73 and low 57. Onto Christmas, though, it'll also be partly cloudy with a high 77 and low 56. That's all, Mustangs. Happy holidays, and I will miss you just as much as you won't miss me. Bye-bye!
Now on to Adrian with the Christmas story.
Hey Mustangs, it's Adrian. I'm here with a story for y'all. It's about Yule and how the Vikings celebrated winter holidays. The pagan holiday of Yule was held during the darkest days of winter and marked the start of the return of light. While Christmas was celebrated far and wide by Christians of medieval Europe, Vikings celebrated a winter holiday of their own. Yule, or Jol in Old Norse, was a multi-pagan ceremony held for 3 or as many as 12 nights that began at winter solstice, in mid to late December during the time of the year when days are short and winter is at its peak. The origins of Yule. The word appears in Anglo-Saxon sources that list the names of the months. According to Terragano, some scholars suggest that the term Yule may derive from one of the names for Odin, the Norse war god. Another theory is that it refers to the wheel of the calendar. If you go to the north of Scotland around this period, you find traditions of rolling, burning wheels down hillsides at this time of the year. And that's to do with the turning of the year. This is what Yule is about. Vikings celebrated Yule in midwinter, the darkest time of the year when sunlight is limited to a few hours each day. In the northernmost reaches of Norway, the sun doesn't rise for over 24 hours during peak polar nights. A deeply agrarian society depended on the sun for survival, and Yule marked the beginning of the return of daylight amid darkness. Yule was also a time of remembrance when memories of the deceased were brought to the forefront.
Now on to Jonathan with This Week in History.
On This Week in History, Tuesday, 1944, during World War II in Europe, the Battle of the Bulge began as Germans launched a big counteroffensive in the Ardennes forest alongside a 75-mile front, taking American troops by surprise. Aided by foggy, snowy weather, the Germans penetrated 65 miles into Allied lines. By the end of December, the German advance was eventually halted by Montgomery on the Moose and Patton at Mustang. As the weather cleared, Allied aircraft attacked German ground forces and supply lines, and the counteroffensive failed. There were estimated 77,000 Allied and 130,000 German casualties. On Wednesday, 1777, at Valley Forge in Pennsylvania, the Continental Army, led by General Washington, settled in for the winter. And Thursday, 1916, during World War I, the Battle of Verdun concluded. After 10 months of fighting in which 543,000 French and 434,000 German soldiers were killed.
This week in music history, on December 16th, 1770, Beethoven was born. In 1943, Fats Waller died of pneumonia. In 1956, Elvis Presley gave his final performance on the Louisiana Hayride. In 1969, John Lennon played what would be his final ever gig in the UK. And in 1979, Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall made it to #1 in the UK. Now, onto the history of modern Christmas music. On September 16th, 1857, J. Pierpont copyrighted the song Jingle Bells with the name The One Horse Open Sleigh. It was written and composed by J. Pierpont, though it did not become a Christmas song until decades after it was first performed. In 1889, the first version of Jingle Bells was recorded on an Edison audio cylinder. This is believed to be the first ever Christmas record. It was also one of the first songs to be broadcast from space in a Christmas-themed prank by Gemini 6 astronauts on December 16th, 1965.
Now to add a word of the week.
Some Sachse High School is added with the word of the week, and the word of the week is druthers. The definition of druthers is a person, preference, in a matter. Druthers in a sentence is, if I had my druthers, I would prefer to be a writer.
Now to a Christmas story with Josh.
Hey Mustangs, it's Josh. And have you ever wondered where the song Here Comes Santa Claus comes from? In 1946, singing cowboy Gene Autry was riding his horse in what was known as Santa Claus Lane Parade in Los Angeles. Autry was a huge star back then, but on that day, he was merely the warm-up act for the big guy in red behind him as he rode past. The crowd started chanting, "Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus." And there he came, right down Santa Claus Lane. And as soon as he did, the children in the audience forgot all about Gene Autry and his horse. Far from being insulted, Autry was inspired. As soon as the parade was over, he got to work with the songwriter Oakley Haldeman. And the next year, Autry released a new Christmas song called Here Comes Santa Claus. Thank you, Mustangs.
Hi, Mustangs. Today I'll be talking about debutante balls. How debutante balls became an elite society tradition, once a tool of aristocratic British matchmaking. The event is known for fluffy white dresses and social peacocking, but its purpose has evolved, and more communities are taking part. Every holiday season, ballrooms across the United States and Europe fill with young women in white gowns and satin gloves poised to make their debut into society. Part pageantry, part social ritual, the debutante ball has roots that stretch back centuries, shaped by monarchy, class, and the evolving role of women. The first recognizable debutante event traces back to Queen Charlotte's Ball in the 1760s, a London fundraiser for a children's hospital that King George III held in honor of his wife's birthday. The event set the model, social display paired with charity, that many programs still follow. If it's for charity, then you're doing something that hides mercenary aspects of it. Kristen Richardson, author of Season, A Social History of the Debutante. That's because beneath the charity veneer lurked a transactional reality. In their earliest form, debutante balls allowed families to present young women to potential marriage partners as symbols of family, wealth, and status. The events gave families on both sides, especially those rich in land and titles but poor in cold, hard cash, the ability to secure a strategic economic alliance while cementing their place in the social hierarchy and preserving their class privileges. Origins of the debutante tradition. While the word debutante means beginner or newcomer in French, the ritual of presenting young women to society was actually an English innovation. The true origins of the debutante ritual in post-Reformation England, after Henry VIII dissolved monasteries and convents, aristocratic families could no longer send surplus daughters, a historian's term for female offspring who exceeded a family's resources or marriage prospect, into religious life. Richardson says, instead, they invested in their most marketable daughters, arranging marriages to secure wealth and alliances. Elizabeth I formalized the practice, presenting her courtiers' daughters at court and marrying them off. How the debutante tradition took off in America, rising trade, colonization, and social mobility created new marriage markets and new choices. The debutante system crossed the Atlantic in the 18th century, quickly taking root in coastal cities and spreading inland. Colonists organized assemblies using music, dancing, and courtship rituals to showcase wealth and arrange marriages. The South, in particular, embraced the ritual, with dancing masters traveling to southern plantations to give lessons. Charleston and Savannah hosted early assemblies, and planter elites, Richardson says, adopted debutante culture as part of their hierarchical worldview akin to the British aristocracy. New Orleans, meanwhile, developed a French-inspired version to the Mardi Gras, where young women from prominent families are presented at formal balls hosted by Carnival Cruise membership-based social organizations that represent the city's varied neighborhoods or communities. For the final time, that's all, Mustangs.
That's this week's Mustang Report. I hope all y'all watching this, have a good Christmas break. And run.
Mustangs run.